Well, it's the holidays, the wonderful festive season, cheer and goodwill all round. But it is still considered to be one of life's most stressful events. Along with the joy and festivities, there's also a great demand that everything be absolutely perfect. And all the other stresses that we've accumulated over the past 12 months have built up, threatening to overflow during Christmas dinner. How can it be? Why is it the case? And what can we do this Christmas so that we can all cope and breathe and enjoy the holiday season? Dr. Rachel Hannam is a psychologist at the North Brisbane Psychologist Centre and joins me this afternoon. Good afternoon to you. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Is it a happy Christmas for you all the time?
Look, like most people, there are challenges and stressors associated with Christmas time for myself, including juggling families, split families, blended families, all the challenges like that is what I experience too.
The biggest challenge I find at Christmas is finding the time, maybe it's just because I'm a bloke, is finding time to shop.
Yeah, me too.
And having the list, because
yeah.
I like to, wander in and out and not make decisions straight away. But I find that the pressure of time and having to deliver and having the expectation of nice gifts, whatever the price range might be, puts added pressure on people.
Absolutely. And then there's all those people in the shops. What are they doing there?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting what you just said about, is it going to be the right gift? The expectation that you give something that they'll really like, trying to impress them a little bit perhaps.
But we do this every year.
Yeah.
Why is it then so hard for many of us when we know that Christmas comes around every 12 months?
Well, I think it just puts us all under the microscope. So any, issues that we have around people pleasing, people liking us, any issues within our families, any unresolved emotions or patterns that exist in our life often become amplified, more obvious around Christmas time. It's just like a little microcosm of the rest of our lives sometimes. But then there's the reality that everybody is feeling this pressure that you described. We're all sort of feeling like we're under the pump.
But no one wants to talk about it.
Well, in my line of work, a lot of people talk about when they come into my office. Even this morning, I've been with clients this morning and had a couple of people say, I really don't enjoy Christmas, Rachel. It's a stressful time. It's not fun. And, there seems to be some themes in what, the things that people find stressful at Christmas time.
So there's overload, as we've talked about. There's the expectation. Is the expectation more so for women, do you think, at Christmas time?
Yeah, there is a bit of research on that. There's an article I read last week called, Holiday Magic all comes down to the women and it's killing them, or something like that. It's a clickbait. But it seems that women do more on average to make, the holiday magic that they were talking about.
So they're cooking, putting up the Christmas tree.
It's great that you do the shopping, but a lot of times the present shopping comes down to the women and the cooking and the decorating and the getting ready and the making plans and the logistics. And sometimes the husbands just rock up on Christmas Day. Where are my tongs? Give me the meat. Where's the beer?
Yeah. Memories is a big thing, isn't it? And the sense of loneliness. I was reading somewhere that in the UK, now they've dedicated someone in government to head loneliness as being a huge issue now.
Yeah, Minister for Loneliness.
Minister for Loneliness, yeah.
It has such a huge impact on our health, feeling lonely. Worse than alcohol and tobacco for our health, yeah.
And I guess Christmas time only accentuates the issue if you're alone.
For some people, absolutely, yeah. I think because Christmas time represents slowing down, the shops close, coming together in the safety and comfort of family and friends, if you don't have the family and the friends, you can become acutely aware of your loneliness at that time. But there are things you can do.
Such as?
Well, some ideas that I've given to people, I sometimes say to people, you're an orphan at Christmas, aren't you? So go and find other Christmas orphans. The internet's great for that. So I have a client who's starting an orphan Christmas. She's getting all the orphans together, whose parents live in other states or countries or who've lost their parents. So they're getting together to have a lunch. Some people work over Christmas to avoid loneliness. If they can find some paid work, they're getting paid and they're usually with other people.
Hospitality is a big area.
Yeah,
no doubt.
yeah. I have a client who's a nurse and she always rosters to work on Christmas Day because she's single and doesn't have kids. So at least on Christmas Day, she's, with her patients in the hospital. There's volunteer opportunities and there's even online Christmas lunches where people can hang out and have forums on Christmas Day online because they are also alone.
What a wonderful idea.
I know.
Is this while you're having lunch?
I guess so. Yeah, I've just read a little bit about online Christmas lunch.
Look, I could imagine sitting there and you have your lunch and you've got the camera on your computer.
Yeah.
And you're enjoying a conversation.
Yeah.
It could be with someone on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Who's in a very similar situation.
Yeah.
So the orphan Christmas is a great idea, and you're absolutely right. And I know friends of mine who have lost their parents, and they put the word out. They've said, I have no where to go this Christmas. Why don't we all get together? And they do. And it's amazing when you put out something like that to the community. People respond.
Yeah, exactly. You've just got to
Yeah.
reach out and ask. And, ask and you shall receive, as they say. But Christmas, we think it's about family. And there's lots of movies that suggest Christmas is all about family. But to me, the Christmas spirit is around those values of, connection and joy and giving. You can do that with anybody.
You can. What about for someone who has lost a close one this year, and this will be the first Christmas without them?
That is really hard. And I think it's super important that people build that into their Christmas Day rather than try and ignore the fact. So building it in by letting themselves feel whatever they feel. If grief comes up, allow that. Grief is the price we pay for love, I sometimes say. And I think doing some ritualistic thing for that person, it might be putting a present for them under the tree or a place at the table, or it might be lighting a candle and thinking, loving thoughts, or if you're religious or spiritual, putting a prayer out for them. But building it into the day so you do acknowledge the person you've lost.
Yeah, it's a good point. If we are attending a family Christmas celebration, Christmas lunch or dinner, and we know that things are going to be somewhat tense for whatever reason, what are some good coping mechanisms that you can share with us?
Well, I think it's really important to be prepared, to get rid of all the fantasies out of our head, all the Christmas movies and the Disney movies that we've seen and the pictures in, Maya or David Jones.
And face reality. It's not going to be like that.
Yeah, I think fantasies are really dangerous from that point of view in many ways. So come back to what are likely to be the triggers for me. Is it when my grandma says this, or my mum does the thing where she criticises my gravy, or whatever it is. So be prepared and then be intentional. Christmas Day is not the day to try and resolve or have a dialogue about deeply rooted family issues. Don't do it on Christmas Day.
But if someone tries to start a conversation like that, are there ways or mechanisms to deflect the conversation so that we don't get caught up in the act?
Well, I think
because it might be good. It might be best intentions for us not to engage, but we may not be the instigator.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think if you're in the situation where your mother-in-law says your gravy looks a little bit pale as usual, or whatever the comment or action might be, then I think, do what you can to deflect it or to say what you want. I think it's important to have good boundaries at Christmas because our boundaries help us stay focused, stay in our integrity and continue to be generous in the Christmas spirit, So the boundaries might sound like, hey, I've done my best. I don't want to get into any kind of disagreements on Christmas Day. Let's just see if we can have a really nice time.
Try to diffuse it.
Diffuse it.
And
absolutely.
then move on.
Yeah, and understand that other people are anxious. And sometimes when people are nervous and anxious, it comes out as bad behaviour.
Yeah. Or we don't say anything at all. We bottle it up and we find the consequences could be far worse.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. Anything else? Any last-minute tips so that we can have a joyous festive season?
One that just came to mind is if there is potential for family tensions and conflicts, don't drink too much.
Good point.
Yeah, make an intention at the start of the day to have, 2 or 3 or whatever you think your limit should be.
It's a coping mechanism for many.
It is.
And it's sad too.
Yeah. But
because if it's a hot day in particular, we know what happens with alcohol.
But be intentional. That's my advice.
All right, Dr. Rachel Hannam, always good to talk to you. Have a wonderful Christmas, and thanks for sharing some really important tips there so we can get through Christmas.
It's my pleasure.
This year.
Thank you.